experiences.
Thanks, Pastor Leah. Okay, so we've been through a lot together as trackers, and we've done many crazy things together. If every one of them were written down, I suppose even the whole world would not have enough room for the books that would be written. But since I only have 5 minutes, let me just share 3 of my greatest takeaways from Trackers 2016. The first is that we can never have enough of God. At Trackers, we started each day with worship, devotions, a testimony sharing, and then personal quiet time. And while you would think that after spending a whole day at a discipleship program, we would have had enough of God, many of us still wanted more. Our dearest Trackers IC led us in spontaneous worship sessions whenever a chance presented itself, and there were many times where we stayed back or came early for a time of prayer or worship. For myself personally, there were certain evenings after Trackers where all I wanted to do was go home and spend time alone with God. Trackers was a time of firsts, with some of us hearing God speak to us for the first time, some receiving inner healing after surrendering long-standing family problems to God, and others practicing the spiritual disciplines on a daily basis for the first time as well. Each encountered God in a different way, but we all tasted and saw that the Lord is good. And once we had experienced that, there was no turning back for us. The second is that good things happen when you let God be in charge. I've always been someone who likes details, and for every program, before I can have peace of mind, I need to know who, what, when, where, why, and how. I used to roll my eyes whenever the phrase spirit-led was brought up, because to me it was just an excuse for poor planning. But during my group's mission trip to Philippines, our team remained flexible despite having made plans, and we addressed the needs that we saw while interacting with the community, all the while being very sensitive to the Spirit's leading. Looking back, I realized that most of the highlights and breakthroughs of our trip came while we were doing something we had not planned for. Some of these include spontaneous worship during the children's program, where the kids sang with such fervor that they drowned out all the mistakes that the worship team made. Going back to a village to celebrate the birthdays of 2 ladies, one of whom had told us that she had nothing to celebrate her 60th birthday with. And the last was throwing a Valentine's Day party, where the couples at the end said such sweet things about their spouses that only Pastor Ray himself would come up with lines more cringeworthy. Similarly, during the school outreach phase, when we performed parts of the musical at various schools, we constantly adjusted which scenes to show and which testimonies to share after hearing from God and the Christian ministry school staff. And I believe that is part of the reason why we received such a positive response from the students, even at places which we had identified as difficult ground. And my last takeaway was that God's power is made perfect in our weakness. When we first began the program in January, a lot of us were anxious and troubled about many things. Some would be leading worship for the first time, and these included people who didn't know that you can't sing the same song you can't sing every song in the same key. Others would have to overcome the daunting task of reading a book for a book review, a feat they had not managed to do throughout their entire school life. And yet, over the course of the 3 months, we began to rely more and more on God's strength instead of our own. And by the end of Trackers, we had overcome difficulties far greater than these. On our mission trip, I saw one of our group mates who was originally so shy that she had trouble talking even to us, rapping in Tagalog in front of a group full of strangers as part of the youth ministry that we were running there. 2 other group members had completely lost their voice and had to text us whenever they wanted to say something. It was a bit of a relief. But they still managed to befriend the locals there and show them God's love. And for the musical, although we had done everything humanly possible to prepare for the event, with our guitarist going to sleep with the metronome playing in his ear, our media team pulling numerous all-nighters editing videos, and our dancers practicing until their bodies will not let them continue, we still recognized that only God could make the musical a success. In fact, there was so much prayer going on in the week leading up to the musical that the hour before our night show started, the only time we stopped praying for one another was when the mass dance song started playing and we were all dancing backstage. One of the most impactful memories that I have of our musical was towards the end of that night show, when my friend who was sick had collapsed in a chair from exhaustion. but still managed to put a smile on his face, sing and dance in front of everyone a few minutes later for the closing song. It was in those moments that I understood what Paul meant when he said, "When I am weak, then I am strong." One of the most cliché phrases that you'll hear at Methodist youth gatherings is that Trekkers never ends. And while it is said that all good things must come to an end, the Bible tells us that the best things last forever. Indeed, it is true that we will no longer gather in the same room for devotions and worship each morning, or fight over seating at Mayo Tea during lunch. But when it comes to seeking God on a daily basis, supporting our brothers and sisters in Christ, and stepping out of our comfort zones to bring Him glory, I believe that this is just the beginning. And in that sense, it is my prayer that Trekkers will truly never end. Thank you and God bless.